the hard disk drive, usually called an HDD. For decades, hard drives were the primary storage device inside almost every personal computer. Their biggest advantage is capacity. Modern hard drives can store several terabytes of information, making them ideal for large collections of videos, photos, games, and backups. They're also generally much cheaper than SSDs when comparing cost per gigabyte, but they achieve this using mechanical parts. Inside every hard drive, one or more magnetic disks spin continuously, while a tiny read and write head moves across their surface. Whenever your computer needs a file, the drive must physically locate its position before reading the data. Because of this, hard drives are slower than modern solid-state drives. They're also more sensitive to physical shocks while operating, since the internal components are constantly moving. Even so, hard drives remain an excellent choice whenever large storage capacity matters more than maximum speed. Now let's look at the storage device that has become the standard in most modern computers: the solid-state drive, or SSD. Unlike a hard drive, an SSD contains no moving parts. Instead, it stores information inside flash memory chips. This allows files to be accessed much more quickly, resulting in faster startup times, quicker application launches, and a more responsive computer overall. Because there are no spinning disks, SSDs operate silently during normal use. They also generate less heat than traditional hard drives. Their lack of moving parts makes them more resistant to accidental bumps and vibrations. Many modern laptops rely on SSDs because they help improve battery life. SSDs come in different forms, including the familiar 2.5-inch drive, small M.2 modules, and extremely fast NVMe SSDs that connect directly to the motherboard. Although SSDs usually cost more per gigabyte than hard drives, their speed often makes them the preferred choice for modern computers. The USB flash drive, small enough to fit in your pocket, yet capable of storing thousands of documents, hundreds of photos, or even entire operating systems. USB flash drives became popular because they made moving files incredibly simple. Instead of carrying CDs or transferring files over a network, you could simply copy your files onto a tiny device, plug it into another computer, and continue working. Most flash drives use the same type of flash memory found inside SSDs. The difference isn't the storage technology, it's the purpose. A flash drive is designed to be portable. It's perfect for transferring files between computers, creating bootable operating systems, or carrying important documents wherever you go. Another very common storage device is the SD card. These tiny cards are found in cameras, smartphones, tablets, drones, gaming devices, and many other portable electronics. Despite their small size, they can store surprisingly large amounts of information: photos, videos, music, applications, and sometimes even entire operating systems, like USB flash drives. SD cards also use flash memory, but they're designed for devices where space is extremely limited. That's why photographers often carry several SD cards instead of multiple hard drives. When one card becomes full, they simply replace it with another and continue shooting. Next, let's look at a storage device that's becoming less common today, but played an enormous role in the history of computers: optical discs. These include CDs, DVDs, and Blu-ray discs. Unlike flash memory, optical discs store information using tiny patterns on their surface. A laser inside the disk drive reads those patterns, allowing your computer to retrieve the stored data. For many years, optical discs were everywhere. Software was installed from CDs, movies were sold on DVDs, games often arrived in large disc boxes, and Blu-ray later made high-definition movies possible. Today, online downloads and streaming services have replaced much of their role. As a result, many modern computers no longer include an optical drive at all. However, optical discs are still used in some industries for media distribution, long-term archiving, and physical backups. But what if you want to access your files without carrying any storage device at all? That's where cloud storage comes in. Services like Google Drive, OneDrive, and iCloud allow you to store files on remote servers instead of only on your own computer. When you upload a document to the cloud, it's copied across the internet and stored in large data centers. As long as you have an internet connection, you can usually access those files from different computers, phones, or tablets. Cloud storage has become popular because it makes sharing, backing up, and synchronizing files much easier. However, it's important to remember that your files are still stored on physical storage devices somewhere. They're simply located inside another company's servers instead of your own computer. Before cloud storage became common, large organizations often relied on another storage technology, magnetic tape. Unlike hard drives, magnetic tape stores data on a long strip of magnetic material wound inside a cartridge. It's much slower than modern storage because the tape must be wound to the correct position before data can be read. However, magnetic tape can store enormous amounts of information at a very low cost. That's why it's still widely used by businesses, government agencies, and data centers for long-term backups and archiving. Although you probably won't find one in a personal computer today, magnetic tape remains one of the most reliable ways to preserve data for many years. Another storage device that helped shape personal computing was the floppy disk. Floppy disks were extremely popular during the 1980s and the 1990s. They stored data on a thin magnetic disk protected by a plastic case. Compared to today's storage devices, their capacity was very small. Most floppy disks could hold only a few megabytes of data. Even so, they were widely used to save documents, install software, and transfer files between computers. Although floppy disks have now disappeared from everyday use, their familiar save icon still appears in many computer programs, reminding us of one of the earliest portable storage devices. And those are the common computer storage devices. From older technologies like floppy disks and magnetic tape to modern SSDs, USB flash drives, SD cards, and cloud storage. Each one was designed for a different purpose. Some focus on speed, others on capacity, portability, or long-term backup. Understanding how these storage devices work will help you make better decisions when choosing where to save, protect, and manage your data. So, you can usually access those files incredibly simple.